As many of you know, I taught for many decades, and in that time, I wrote thousands of report cards, thousands. I wrote report cards midterm, I wrote report cards end of the year, I wrote report cards for children going on to other schools, I wrote report cards for children, seeing psychologists or some kind of support staff. I wrote report cards that were simple checklists and maybe one, cut and paste statement. I wrote report cards that every subject had to have paragraphs. One child would take me days to complete. It took real time in the classroom and on the playground and everywhere, just observing and making judgments. And at the end of the year, sometimes teachers would send out these more or less objective reports, but they would find the teacher for the grade in which the child would be moving up to, and they would tell them some, other little bits of information, things that they thought would be helpful to know about maybe how the child interacted with certain kids, maybe about some issue that they didn't want to put in the report card, maybe even about the parents and how they interact. And some teachers like to have this information ahead of time, and some were like, nope, I don't want to know until I have met the child and seen that child in my room with this group of kids, with this new curriculum, whatever, because teachers know that even over the summer months, growth takes place. Things change. Children are almost new people when they come to the next grade. And sometimes even in the early months of autumn, of the fall semester, kids come into their own. So they don't want to make these judgments, take these labels that might influence how they react or how they deal with the children. Yet we are always called to judge. It is actually prudent and sometimes safe for us to think about people and situations and to make some kind of judgment about whether this is going to be good or not. We teach our children to beware of strangers. We worry about interactions with people that we don't know, haven't learned to trust when we do business. It is wise and prudent often to judge. But when judging and labeling others lead to exclusion, then we have to beware. When it makes the clubs, insiders and outsiders, then we have crossed the line. And in some ways, I think the parable that we just heard, the parable of the wheat and the weeds, is a warning about making judgments that lead to insiders and outsiders, those who are worthy and those who are not. And we know that Jesus, in speaking to the crowds at that time, may have been referencing the Pharisees who obeyed the law, who followed certain rituals and rites and thought that was what made them worthy, holy, God's people. And then they judged the others, those who were not of their faith, those who were not able to do the things that they did, those who were unclean for whatever reason, poor, they had insiders and outsiders. The outsiders were the people Jesus mingled with, that Jesus sat down at table with, that Jesus walked the streets of Palestine with. And they knew that they were not thought to be worthy except as Jesus told them in God's eyes. Wheat and weeds. And perhaps in Matthew's community, because Matthew is writing for the church in his time, in Matthew's community, there may have been insiders and outsiders as well. Maybe they were Jewish Christians and Gentile Christians. Maybe they were rich and poor. Maybe something was going on that had some people excluding others. They also needed to hear the parable of the wheat and the weeds. And Jesus telling them that it was not for them to judge. It was not their responsibility to judge who was wheat and who was weed. That in fact God, the great gardener, said, let them grow together. You see, what God seems to be saying is that not only can't we truly identify what's good and what's evil, what's wheat and what's weed, we do not know God's standards for either. We must leave it to God to do this, and God has given time for both weed and wheat to grow. Because we can grow and change. In each of us, there is a little bit of a weed and a little bit of a wheat. In each community, there are some that may need more time to grow in faith. It is not for us to say, you must stay outside because you are unworthy. It is God's responsibility. Think of our church, our community of faith, of the ways through the ages where we have said that some people are not worthy to be in this community. Whether it had to do with matters of doctrine, how the Bible was interpreted, whether it had to do with how much you had, wealth, whether it had to do with gender or race or sexual orientation. There are so many ways in which we have said, you are weed, stay out. And Jesus tells us that is not our responsibility. That is God's work. And God gives us time. We are grateful for that. We are grateful because we need time to grow into the fullness of our wheatness. We need time to grow into what we must become in God's kingdom. We would not want other people to exclude us because of our weedness, because of the things that have still not yet matured in God's kingdom. Let us be grateful for this patient, loving God who accepts all people and blesses them with time and space and ways to grow into being part of God's kingdom. Amen.
Amen.